Hey folks, this is Sean with the CubeCast. Thank you so much for tuning in. In this video, I'm going to be discussing this breaking news event out of Florida that's going on right now. This is a kind of a developing story, so not all the facts have come out yet. But what we know so far is that a couple guys tried to rob a jewelry store in Coral Gables, Florida. Something went wrong during the robbery. They ended up hijacking a UPS truck and the driver. And the police pursued them. They ended up stopping the vehicle and engaged in a shootout with the robbers. And so far, 4 people have been killed. So the 2 robbery suspects were killed. The UPS driver was killed, and an innocent bystander that was near the UPS truck, I guess, just sitting in their car, was killed as well. And what I wanted to do in this video is armchair quarterback this situation. And I don't agree with what the police did here. And just a disclaimer here, I am not advocating in any way, shape, or form for the scumbags that robbed the jewelry store. They put a whole bunch of people's lives in jeopardy, and none of this would have obviously happened if they haven't robbed the store. But things aren't as simple as that all the time. You also have to look at how this whole thing went down when everyone got killed. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to armchair quarterback it, because that's my job as a citizen, to analyze these things and to make sure that people, our tax money is going, when we're training these police, that we're not training them to turn a situation that was already dangerous into a situation that becomes, 10 times more dangerous when it doesn't need to be. So that's what I'm going to be talking about in this video. So what happened was, when these guys robbed this jewelry store and they hijacked this UPS truck with the driver, the cops engaged with them at some point. It looks like it's in rush hour traffic, and whenever this engagement started between the police and these robbers, the police just started spraying rounds downrange with long guns, into this packed street with civilians all over the place. And not only that, but they were taking cover behind civilians' cars, which is a big no-no. And I think they really fucked up when they did that. They were drawing fire from the robbers into civilians' cars during the shootout, where they were trying to apprehend these robbery suspects. And that's not their job. Their job isn't to decide that their lives are more precious than some Joe Schmo who's just coming home from work and drawing fire into maybe a car full of kids, that are on their way home from school, just because the police want to apprehend this robbery suspect. And the reason that I'm saying this is not because I hate the police. I have a lot of respect for the police. They've actually helped me out in a couple situations that were dangerous in my own neighborhood. And I'll be forever grateful to them for the rest of my life for showing up and putting their bodies on the line to make the street safer. So I'll always give the police props for doing what most people aren't willing to do. But at the same time, as far as this goes, the intent, you have to look at it like this. The intent of these robbers was not to kill a bunch of innocent people. That was not their objective. If this was a terrorist attack and they were just randomly, shooting people on the street, I would say, the cops show up, start spraying, and put the threat down. But that's not what happened here. These guys were evading the police. They were trying to get away because they had just robbed a liquor store, right? They hijacked this UPS truck. They were clearly being pursued by the police. They were scared. But their objective was not to kill a bunch of innocent people. I don't think anybody could take that from this incident, that was their objective. They're thieves and they didn't want to get caught. So their objective was to evade. And that's what the police should have let them do. The police should have seen that the situation was dangerous in rush hour traffic, that there was tons of civilians around, and backed off a little bit and de-escalated the situation until they could have apprehended them in a more safe environment. And then, of course, when the situation became safer, if you have to open fire on the UPS truck because these guys are throwing rounds at you, you got to do what you got to do. But I don't even care if the suspects opened up on them first. They had no right to bust out the long guns, start hiding behind civilian cars, and turn that jam-packed highway into the Wild Wild West. And I'm going to play you this video in a second. Well, this video you're seeing up here is a clip from the incident, and it does have audio. I'll turn that on in a minute. And this is just from some guy who is just like hiding. He starts hearing rounds and stuff, and he kind of ducks down for cover in his car, and you can actually hear the rounds ricocheting off this guy's car. So that's how dangerous this situation was. And I personally just don't think it needed to go down this way. But I'm going to show you this picture right here, what I'm talking about, as far as these guys taking cover behind civilians' cars. So if you look up at this photo, I see 1, 2, at least 3 just in this photo cars that police are hiding behind, occupied vehicles with civilians inside of them. They're taking cover to protect their own bodies. That's why they're doing that. They're protecting their own bodies. I'm sorry, man. You signed up for a dangerous job, and if you ever find yourself in the unfortunate situation of getting into a firefight in the middle of rush hour traffic, I'm sorry, but you may have to take one for the team, because it's not fair for you to draw fire into a car just because you want to go home tonight, or whatever the slogan is in these police agencies. That's not fair. The police are honored all the time for their bravery. They're given all sorts of award for courage. And if you guys want that trend to continue, then you can't be hiding behind civilians' cars just because you're scared of getting shot. That's not the way the job works, because what you're doing is you're going to end up getting a whole bunch of people killed. Obviously not yourself, but you're going to end up drawing fire onto innocent civilians who are going to get killed because you chose to handle this situation in the way that you did, which was to engage in this way on a crowded street in rush hour traffic. I mean, these guys got the ARs out, and you shoot an AR-15 round, will go through the car, and then the car next to that car, and maybe even the car next to that car. So you don't start spraying rounds downrange with long guns when you have this many people, milling about. I'm sorry, that's just not what you do. You may have to take the one for the team and risk keeping your body in the open, so a whole bunch of people don't get killed, because at this point there's 2 people so far that are dead that don't need to be dead. They could have de-escalated the situation a little better, let these guys not go free, but allowed their adrenaline levels to go down as well, and apprehended them in a more safe location than a busy, packed rush hour traffic street or whatever was going on here. This is insane. I guarantee you there's gonna be some people reprimanded for this. I doubt if anyone will lose their jobs, because they never do. We saw these Florida cops at the school shooting that we had not too long ago. They as soon as they heard shots, so many of them went and hid, ran for cover, and let the kids inside the school get shot up, because they didn't want to risk their own lives to protect the school. So unfortunately, I see a lot of this fear in some of these agencies, and this is a prime example, I think personally, of what not to do. They should have been able to assess the situation, seen that it was extremely dangerous, and made the correct decision based on that. I don't care if the robbers opened fire on them first. They could have, ran for cover, de-escalated the situation. These guys would have moved on. They for sure would have moved on, because like I said, their intent was not to mow down a bunch of innocent people. This was not a terrorist attack. This was a robbery gone wrong. And these guys, their motivation was to evade. It was not to kill a bunch of innocent people. So this didn't need to go down that way. Anyway, I'm going to go back to that video clip, and I'm going to let you listen to the audio, and you can actually hear the guy who's filming with his phone or whatever. You can hear the rounds bouncing off his car. I mean, this is crazy. So that is totally wild. And like I said, yes, I'm going to armchair quarterback it, and you're going to get a bunch of bootlickers who are going to be like, look, there's a gray area in life here, folks. You've got these right-wing conservatives who walk around and they say you can never, ever, question the police. They never do anything wrong. And I'm sorry, that's how you wind up in a police state. I mean, that type of mentality is ridiculous. You should learn from history that is not the case. You always question authority. When you give people the power to kill basically with impunity, if you're a police officer nowadays, basically if you get involved in a shooting, all you have to do is just say you felt threatened, and there's a 99% chance that you're going to be good to go. So when you give somebody that much power, you damn well better question that organization or that entity in your society at all times, or it can get out of control really quick. So I don't agree with the bootlickers on the right who worship authority constantly and claim that we can never question that authority. And I don't agree with the morons on the left who just think that all police are bad and evil and that we don't need police, because most of the districts that these liberals live in are also they're crime-ridden districts, and they actually rely on the police to keep them safe. Without the police there, their neighborhoods would be a hell of a lot more dangerous than if the police weren't there at all. They need the police, and they call the police all the time. Don't let them fool you. They call the police all the time when they need help in a lot of these Democrat-controlled districts and these cities that are crime-ridden and run by liberals. So, when they're walking down the street saying, pigs in a blanket, fry them like bacon, that's as equally as vile as worshiping the police and never questioning what they do and keeping them in check. I think it's equally as vile on both kind of extreme ends of the spectrum. Most people, we should all be living in this kind of gray zone in the middle where it's okay to question the actions of the police. It's okay to call them out when they hire police officers that are psychopaths and just shouldn't be doing the job. But you can't paint the entire an entire entity like a police force in a country all under this like broad brush. That's just not the way it works. The police are just a segment of our society. Just like any other occupation, you're going to have good cops, you're going to have bad cops, you're going to have cops with this problem, cops with these problems, cops that may not have, many problems. And that's just the way it goes in any, company that you work for. You go work in a factory, you're going to have a bunch of bozos working there, and you're going to have cool people working there, and nice people and assholes and people with mental illness and people who are violent and people who aren't violent. And that's just the way it goes. The police are no different. So we shouldn't be holding them, to this crazy standard. But I think we should at least hold them to a higher standard because this is a voluntary position. These are not, we don't have a draft for police officers in this country. They volunteer to do this job. So anyway, that's just my thoughts on it. Like I said, I'm sure I'll get a bunch of hate comments from the bootlickers and stuff, and I welcome those comments. I'm not going to, I don't delete people's comments. So you can say whatever you want on my channel. I'm a major free speech guy, so if you want to call me, this or that, that's fine. I mean, don't threaten violence or I'm gonna have to remove those comments, but anything else goes. I don't care what people say. I want people to be able to say what they want about me or anybody else, in the country, and not have to worry about getting their comments removed by some snowflake who can't handle it. I can deal with it. Anyway, thanks for watching.